welcome back to Pod Popper's Place and the home of the creative chaos. This month on Embossing Folder Friday, we're going to be doing paisleys or a flourish. I don't have any paisley embossing folders, but I have this flourish. It's an old Cuttle bug from Provo Craft. And so I'm gonna see what we can do with this. So recently I did a card for Kendra's card challenge that I really liked, and it had several different types of paper and stripes. So I've chosen some coordinating paper here. I'm going to make some strips out of it and then glue them together on a base, and then we're going to die cut them from a background die. So I've cut some 4 by 1 inch, no, sorry, 5.5 by 1 inch strips. And then I'm going to glue them onto just a basic white cardstock, and then we are going to cut it out with this die. This is from Divinity Designs. And so I did glue these down fairly well, lined up next to each other as close as possible, and quite a bit of glue, just because when you cut this, it does cut into smaller shapes, so you don't want anything falling off when you cut it down. This white paper is a little bit see-through, which is kind of a bummer because you can kind of see the antlers on the other side. But I think once we're done, you won't really notice that. So I do want to make sure and not get any of the white into my pattern here. So I am going to trim the white off, and hopefully, I think this will fit. Yeah, it'll fit on just there just right. But in order to make sure I don't get any of the white on in my cutout, I'm going to trim those edges off first before I cut the die out. So I've trimmed the sides down, and I'm going to line this up, making sure that it gets my paper completely. And then I'm going to use some washi tape to hold it on there. And as I run this through my die machine, I'll probably run it through a couple times just to make sure it gets through all the layers of paper. As you can see, it looks like it cut through everything, I hope. I ran it through twice, so here you can see, kind of looks like it's one piece of paper now. And then I'm going to run it through my embossing folder before I start taking pieces of it apart. And we have the big reveal. Ta-da! I just think it looks super cool. So now we are going to get a background piece of paper, and we are just going to glue all the little cutout pieces on. Actually, we're going to pop them up. So I got this 4 1/4 by 5.5 gray, but it's looking a little blah, so we're going to spice it up a little bit. I'm going to round the corners, maybe stamp and add some glitter, some gold. So because we're doing a flourish, I think I'm going to use this really old Stampin' Up! Stamp. It's a background stamp. I don't even know how old it is, but it's a flourish too, so I think I'll use that. And I'm just gonna add, you know, gray on gray with gold flecks, or should I just stamp it in gold? I think I'll just stamp it in gold. Just go straight to the gold. So here we have the Brilliance Pigment Gold. Tell me if you think I should have done the gray and the flecks of gold, but I'm just going straight for the gold. And with background stamps, one way I like to use them is with a brayer, and I think it's going to be off just a little bit, but so we might have to trim it. We'll see. I'm going to put it straight down. See, it's not touching the edge up there. And then I just use the brayer to try and get it to get a nice clean stamped image, because obviously this one is not clear, so we can't stick it in like a stamp-a-majig or stamp-a-gratis thing. So, and it did shift there a little bit, I think. But see, the edge didn't, it's not quite big enough. So, what are we going to do about that? I might just have to trim it and round the corners again. So I'm going to let that dry first before I really mess it up. So I've turned this over because I want pieces to stay together as best I can, so I can put foam tape on these squares, and also want to remove very carefully the washi tape, because I want to keep this as still as possible while I'm putting the foam adhesive on here. I'm going to flip it back over, close this, flip it back over, and then I'm going to use some of the press and seal. And I'm going to lay it down, everything touching, and then I'm going to flip it over, and now everything should pretty much stay in place so that I can add my foam adhesive. Okay, I've gotten foam tape on all the little individual pieces. I trimmed the edge and rounded the corners of this again, so it's still bigger than our design here. And I'm going to peel off, or attempt to peel off, just the frame here, and leave everything else on the paper. So I'm actually using my pokey tool to hold the pieces of cardstock down rather than helping me peel up the backing on the foam tape. So if you do have trouble with foam tape backing, this may be a little more challenging for you, but maybe if you have two pokey tools, or maybe if you have your pokey tool and your tweezers. Okay. I'm going to do this a little bit backwards. I just think that maybe I can line it up a little bit better if I do it this way. It's done now. Let's see what we got. Yeah, that's off. It is off, but maybe we can fix that. Carefully pull this back. Hopefully it's not going to take too much of our pretty paper with it. And then we can go back and pop these little guys in. This guy's like super tiny, and he really is showing a lot of his foam tape, but that's okay. He's not very big, so. All right, I just don't want to look like a piece is missing. All right, isn't that pretty? I'm going to trim here and here a little bit, around the edges again, so that hopefully they look all about the same width. I just think that's a super cool look. So because there's just so much going on with this card, see it, that press and seal did pull up some of my gold design on there, and I did have to round the corners with a different rounder because it wouldn't fit in here. Now it's too thick, so you know, there's always something, but we're trying to make it work here. So Anyway, I don't think you can really notice it too much because there's so much gold on here. But I'm going to try and keep the rest of it fairly simple. So I'm just going to use this gold circle that I already had from some other project. And then I just got a foil machine, a glimmer foil machine, and this was my first attempt, and obviously it went off the paper. So this oval is not really usable in its entirety. And obviously you can see I have some learning to do, but the happy birthday turned out pretty well. So I think I'm gonna cut that out, and then I'm going to put it on here, and then I will be about finished with my card. And there you have it. I added some beautiful diamond sparkle from This Calls for Confetti. Beautiful, shiny. And the glue hasn't dried yet, so they're not quite as shiny as they will be. And I kept it pretty simple there. I could add some more flourishes, I guess, to it, but I just think the background is so beautiful, and I wanted to keep the sentiment fairly simple. So I hope you enjoyed this, and come back again for Embossing Folder Friday. Every Friday, every first Friday of the month, and hop along to the other creators. And I'd love it if you subscribe and hit the like button, and come back again soon. Thanks.